my goal initially had been to have her in a fully inclusive kindergarten classroom, but she literally turned 5 on the first day of kindergarten. I could have waited another year, but the preschool I had her at, they weren't going to do very much with her. So I made the decision to put her in that separate setting with a wonderful teacher who she had for 2 years. My ultimate goal is to have her in a fully inclusive environment by the time she's in 6th grade, going into middle school, but I'm telling everybody I want it 4th grade. That way, when I compromise, I look like I'm an awesome parent, but really I have, you know what I mean? Like, I know what's best for her, and it's really, since she's hit 9, the age of 9, I can sense this awareness in her, this growth in her, and it's almost like an intellect. I'm really excited to say that, because you don't really expect that from Down syndrome, you really don't. But I can see her awareness of other people, of her interaction with the environment increasing, and I think the only benefit, it's like a window of opportunity, and I need to get her included as quickly as possible, because she belongs with all of her peers, she belongs in the community, she belongs with all of us, and I think inclusion is really the only way to go. I went to an IEP, SOAR's latest IEP addendum, because we just transferred back from Boone, and I dropped the inclusion bomb on them. I hadn't talked about this, these guys, they didn't know me, they didn't know SORA, I basically led that meeting, because I do. And it wasn't even as hard as I thought. I didn't have to be mean. I didn't have to ask for anything just radical. We started talking about hybrid forms of what inclusion could look like, because I'm a rational person. I'm not going to go in there and say I want her in 4th grade with all of her classmates. They're going to know her, they're going to love her, but she can be a pain in the butt. It may not work, but she needs as much of an inclusive experience as possible. And I think for you guys, you may not ever find yourselves teaching in a special ed classroom, but if you don't have at least one kid in your class that has a 504 plan or an IEP, something's wrong in your school.
I want what's best for my son, and I want him to be happy. I don't always see the two as exactly identical, because you're working with a school system that has reality limitations. So certainly my default is I want inclusion. It's not every parent's default. Sometimes they think that's too challenging an environment for their child, and they'll advocate for special services. Directional arrow really does go both ways. You know, people in the school system, they sometimes go into a meeting not knowing which way the parent's going to advocate. For me, I think I mentioned that I've always advocated for inclusion. I've always wanted to be in the least restrictive environment. There's an obvious reason for that. I want him to live in society. I don't want him segregated. And if he's going to live in society as an adult, as a person, as a human being, then where do you practice that? Do you practice that in a separate setting? It's not to diminish the other children in the separate setting. That's really valuable too. When we have birthday parties, I make sure I invite from both settings and across different populations. But it should look like the real world looks. The separate setting doesn't. Or it does. Some adults do need supports like that. But unfortunately, that's a commentary on society, that even as adults, we segregate out. We include less. So where are we going to model that if not in the schools? Let's have someone make sure he's included in lunch. He's included in other school events. They let us know when the dances are, when the trips are. That can be inclusion too. But the advocacy doesn't stop. It just shifts for what's going to make him happy.